Sean Diddy Combs was denied bail for the third time, a federal judge saying that the government had proven by clear and convincing evidence that there were no conditions of release that would ensure the safety of the community.
You're disrespectful to women. For real, you're probably the Jeffrey Epstein of hip-hop.
Breaking news, everyone. The mighty Sean Diddy Combs, once a towering figure in music and business, is now at the center of a story so shocking, so surreal that it feels almost unbelievable. Picture this. The man who dominated the charts, rocked the red carpet, and built an empire worth millions is now sitting alone in a cold, cramped cell at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. But it's not just the fall from grace that has everyone talking. It's the whispers, the paranoia, the unraveling of a man who once seemed untouchable. And let us tell you, this story only gets darker the deeper you go.
If you're just joining us here, was just arrested and taken into federal custody in New York tonight. Sources tell TMZ Homeland Security swooped into a Midtown hotel late Monday where Diddy was staying, and they arrested him.
Let's back up for a second. When Diddy was first arrested, the whole world was stunned. This wasn't just a bad boy, mogul caught up in a scandal. This was a career-destroying, legacy-shattering moment. The charges against him were as serious as they come, accusations that shook the foundations of his career and put everything he'd ever built at risk. Still, when he first walked into that courtroom, Diddy wasn't ready to let the world see him sweat. He showed up with his head held high, dressed to impress, his signature confidence radiating from every pore. If he was nervous, he didn't show it. He smiled, he smirked, and to some, it even looked like he thought he could charm his way out of this.
I have information that he was arrested tonight at a Manhattan hotel. He is currently being processed. I heard from his attorney they are still maintaining his innocence. They said that in anticipation of these charges that Diddy relocated to New York last week.
But that confidence didn't last long. Fast forward to today, Diddy is now sitting behind bars, stripped of everything that once made him larger than life. No custom suits, no entourage, no VIP treatment, just cold, hard reality. And that reality, our friends, is breaking him. People close to the situation say he's on self-harm watch, a precaution that's standard for high-profile inmates, but one that feels eerily fitting in this case. The whispers from inside the detention center tell a chilling story, one of a man who's not just struggling with the loss of his freedom, but also with the weight of his own choices. Those first few days in jail were a wake-up call for Diddy. The moment he was processed into the system, it was like the air shifted. Gone was the man who once commanded rooms with his presence. What replaced him was someone smaller, quieter, and visibly shaken. They say he had this look in his eyes, a mix of disbelief and fear, as if he couldn't quite grasp what was happening to him. One guard reportedly said he walked in like he thought he was still a boss, but you could see it fade the second those doors closed behind him.
It's just incredible. And, it brings into context our whole system of innocent to proven guilty. Why is he not being given bond? And, we could debate that all day long. Of all people that's unlikely to flee or get away, well, he's got the resources to flee, but he's so recognizable. And isn't he innocent till proven guilty? Well, yeah, but, we have to recognize there are degrees of innocent till proven guilty.
Inside the Metropolitan Detention Center, Diddy's life looks nothing like the luxury he's used to. The cells are tiny, the food is barely edible, and the noise never stops. It's a place designed to strip you down to your most basic self, and for someone like Diddy, who spent decades building an image of power and control, that kind of environment is a special kind of torture. Gone are the plush couches and lavish meals. Now it's steel beds and trays of food he refuses to eat, allegedly out of fear of being poisoned. And can you blame him? For someone who spent his life navigating the cutthroat world of fame, trust doesn't come easy. The paranoia started almost immediately. According to insiders, Diddy has been refusing the standard prison meals, opting instead to survive on commissary snacks, chips, honey buns, anything sealed and pre-packaged. Why? Because he's convinced someone might try to get to him through his food. He knows he's made enemies, one source said, and in a place like this, you can't take any chances. It's a grim picture, but it's one that feels almost inevitable for a man who spent his entire life looking over his shoulder.
It's a legitimate concern. No judge wants to wake up and read the headlines the next day, oh, they treated this guy special and they gave him bond, and now he's gone and he fled from justice. So that's what's in the back of most judges' minds. On the other hand, we deal with cases where clients have significant funds sometimes, and sometimes where there's money, you can craft a unique solution. Years ago, it was the ankle bracelet and the ankle monitor.
But it's not just the conditions that are wearing him down. It's the isolation. Despite his fame, or maybe because of it, Diddy has found himself completely alone in a place where alliances can mean the difference between survival and disaster. Other inmates steer clear of him, not out of respect, but out of fear. The stories, the allegations, they've made him toxic even in a place like this. And for someone who once thrived on being the center of attention, that kind of isolation can be devastating. The first time someone saw him in the cafeteria, it was like seeing a ghost. He sat alone, hunched over his tray, barely touching the food in front of him. His signature swagger was gone, replaced by a nervous energy that made it impossible for him to sit still. His orange jumpsuit hung awkwardly on his frame, and his face looked hollow, like he hadn't slept in days. And then there's the constant fear. Every noise, every movement, every shadow seems to set him on edge. Guards have described him as jittery, always looking over his shoulder, flinching at the smallest sounds. It's like he's waiting for something to happen, something he can't quite name but feels is inevitable. There are whispers that he's been hearing things, talking to himself, muttering under his breath. "They're coming for me," he's been overheard saying. "I should have seen it coming." But here's the thing, no one knows who they are. Is it the people who landed him in this mess? Is it the enemies he's made along the way? Or is it something darker, something rooted in the choices he's made and the secrets he's kept? Whatever it is, it's eating away at him, and it's creating a tension that everyone inside the detention center can feel.
It's just interesting to me that with all the money he has and all the resources he has, they couldn't craft some solution that lets him be under some form of house arrest. And again, it sounds like special treatment, but the truth of the matter is, to incarcerate somebody like him is expensive to all of us. We're taxpayers, and he's got to have unique situations. You can't put him in general population where, everyone wants a piece of him and everyone wants to be his friend and everyone.
What's even more chilling are the rumors about a list. Yes, you heard that right, a list. People are saying Diddy might have dirt on some very powerful people, names that could shake entire industries if they were ever made public. Whether this list exists or not is anyone's guess, but the very idea of it has everyone on edge. If it's real, it could explain a lot. The paranoia, the fear, the sock incident. Yes, the sock incident. We'll get to that in a minute.
Well, Sierra, anything's possible, right? But now this judge has an even harder time, I think, because the past judge locked him up, didn't let him out, and he's still there available for trial. If the new judge lets him out on bond and something goes wrong, and this isn't the analysis that I'm proud to make, right? We shouldn't be saying, well, judges are worried about their own skin and how they look if something bad happens.
For now, let's focus on the man himself. Diddy's always been a fighter, someone who doesn't back down from a challenge. But this is a battle unlike anything he's ever faced. The legal system doesn't care about his fame or his fortune. The other inmates don't care about his hits or his influence. And the guards, well, let's just say they've seen it all before. In here, Diddy is just another inmate, and that's a reality he's struggling to accept. What's fascinating, and honestly heartbreaking, is watching someone who spent his entire life building an image of control lose that control so completely. This is a man who once threw lavish parties that people would do anything to attend, who built an empire on the back of his charisma and ambition, and now he's pacing a tiny cell, muttering to himself, and refusing to eat out of fear that someone's trying to take him out. It's a fall so dramatic, so total, that it almost feels like a movie. But this isn't fiction. This is real life, and it's happening right now.
They're going to try everything. They're going to try to transfer him. They're going to try to get him out. In a normal case where it's a high-profile person or a well-funded person, the prosecution and the judge is a little bit more concerned about a wrongful prosecution, because people that are mad that they're being arrested for a crime they didn't commit can turn around and file for malicious prosecution.
As for the sock incident, well, that's where things take an even darker turn. Late one night, after the lights went out and the prison settled into its uneasy rhythm, something happened in Diddy's cell that sent shockwaves through the entire facility. When the guards came for their morning rounds, they found him slumped on the floor, a sock tied loosely around his neck. It wasn't tight enough to do any real damage, but it was enough to raise questions. Was it a genuine cry for help? A staged event to get him moved to a hospital? Or was it something else entirely? Theories abound, and none of them are comforting. The official story is that it was a self-harm attempt, but not everyone's buying it. Some say it was a calculated move, a way to manipulate the system, and get himself out of the general population. Others think it was a message, a warning from someone who wants him scared and silent. And then there are those who believe it was a mix of both, a desperate act by a desperate man who sees no other way out.
Every jail is bad. Some jails are worse than others. And the problem, again, is if you move him, why is he getting special treatment? And maybe he's earned special treatment. Maybe what he's done, maybe he's given so much back to his fans and to the world and to charity that maybe there's a way that it plays out in the end. But again, to go into court and say this jail is bad, move him to another jail, is not your first argument. That's sort of the...
So what happens when the walls start closing in and even the shadows feel like they're watching? That's the reality Sean Diddy Combs is living right now, and let us tell you, it's not just the physical prison bars that are trapping him. The sock incident was only the beginning of a downward spiral that seems to have no end in sight. If you thought the story so far was wild, hold on, because this next chapter dives even deeper into the paranoia, the whispers, and the chilling truths that might be hiding in plain sight. The morning after the sock incident, the detention center was buzzing. Inmates were whispering, guards were exchanging glances, and Diddy, he was silent. The once boisterous mogul who couldn't go 5 minutes without commanding attention was now a man of few words, his confidence shattered. And yet, the unanswered questions about that night lingered in the air like a storm cloud. Was this an actual attempt to end it all, or was it a calculated move to manipulate his situation? Some even speculated that it wasn't his doing at all, that someone else had sent him a message loud and clear.
There's no way. They can't move in the general population. And would he be at risk? Sure, he'd be at risk. There's so many people that have nothing to lose, right? They're going to be in jail the rest of their life. They've got nothing to. They want their 15 minutes of fame. They were friends with Diddy, or they hurt Diddy, or they Diddy, or they did. I mean, there's so many, people in jail that this would be their moment. You can't put them there. Plus,
here's where things get even weirder. That infamous sock incident sparked rumors about a so-called list. Yes, a list. One that allegedly contains the names of some of the most powerful people in the world, individuals who might have a lot to lose if Diddy ever decided to talk. Now, whether this list is real or just a figment of someone's imagination, the idea of it has completely taken over the narrative inside the detention center. Everyone's asking the same question. If Diddy does have dirt on these influential figures, how far would they go to keep him quiet? And that's where the paranoia kicks into overdrive. According to sources inside the facility, Diddy has become obsessed with the idea that someone, somewhere, is watching his every move. He reportedly spends hours staring at the surveillance cameras in his cell block, his eyes darting back and forth as if trying to catch someone in the act. One guard even mentioned that he overheard Diddy muttering to himself, saying things like, "They're waiting for me to slip up." And it's all part of the plan. Whether these fears are grounded in reality or just the product of a mind unraveling under pressure, one thing is clear: Diddy doesn't trust anyone anymore.
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the SHU have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. Yeah, he is on watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there.
But let's talk about the guards for a moment, because their behavior is just as suspicious. Normally, high-profile inmates like Diddy are treated with a mix of indifference and annoyance. After all, they're just one of many in a long line of celebrities who've fallen from grace. But in this case, there's a noticeable shift in how the staff interacts with him. Some guards reportedly avoid making eye contact with him altogether, while others seem almost too attentive, hovering nearby during routine checks as if expecting something to go wrong. And then there's the cryptic warning one guard allegedly gave him during a routine cell inspection. Careful who you talk to. You never know who's listening. What did that even mean? Was it a genuine piece of advice or was it a veiled threat? Of course, the other inmates have their own theories. In the prison yard, where rumors spread faster than wildfire, everyone seems to have an opinion about what's really going on with Diddy. Some say he's faking the paranoia to gain sympathy or to get transferred to a facility with better conditions. Others believe he's genuinely scared for his life, and honestly, can you blame him? With the kind of power and influence he used to wield, it's not hard to imagine that he's made a few enemies along the way. Then there's the third group, the ones who think the whole thing is part of some elaborate game he's playing, a way to stay one step ahead of everyone else. But if that's true, then it's a game with no clear winner, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on watch.
And then there's the food situation, which has only added fuel to the fire. Diddy's refusal to eat standard prison meals has become a hot topic both inside and outside the detention center. Officially, the story is that he's worried about the quality of the food. And let's be honest, who wouldn't be? The Metropolitan Detention Center isn't exactly known for its 5-star dining. But unofficially, there's a much darker explanation. According to Larry Levine, a former inmate turned prison consultant, Diddy's fears might not be entirely unfounded. What if someone on the outside knew someone inside the prison? Levine speculated. All it would take is one person to slip something into his food, and that's it. Whether it's paranoia or a legitimate concern, Diddy isn't taking any chances. For now, he's surviving on commissary snacks, but even that isn't enough to stop the whispers. And speaking of whispers, let's go back to that list for a second. The idea of a list containing names of powerful people isn't just some wild conspiracy theory. It's a narrative that's gained serious traction both inside the prison and in the media. Some say it's a bargaining chip, something Diddy is holding on to in case he needs leverage. Others think it's the reason he's in this mess to begin with, that someone orchestrated his downfall to ensure that the list never sees the light of day. Whatever the truth is, the mere existence of this rumor has created an atmosphere of tension and fear that's impossible to ignore.
Okay, some people do think that Diddy can help him, but this guy's going to be locked up forever. His case will probably take at least 3 years to litigate. He'll stay at MDC. There's rumors that he wants to go to Essex County Jail in New Jersey because he doesn't like MDC. He's a Marshals inmate. There's no way they're going to transfer him back and forth, I don't know, several times a week.
But here's the thing about secrets. They have a way of coming out, especially in a place like this. The guards talk, the inmates talk, even the staff in the infirmary can't help but speculate about what's really going on behind the scenes. And every time a new detail emerges, whether it's a cryptic comment from Diddy or an unexplained incident like the sock, it only adds to the mystery. One source close to the situation described it as a ticking time bomb, saying it's only a matter of time before something big happens. Either he cracks or someone else does. And let's not forget about the legal side of things, because that's a whole other can of worms. Diddy's legal team has been working overtime to get him out on bail, but so far, every attempt has been denied. The judges have made it clear that they see him as a flight risk. And honestly, can you blame them? With his resources and connections, it wouldn't be hard for him to disappear. But the longer he stays inside, the more desperate his situation becomes, and that desperation is starting to show. During his last court appearance, he reportedly looked thinner and older, his once vibrant presence reduced to a shadow of its former self. Even his own lawyers have admitted that the conditions inside the detention center are extremely difficult, but that hasn't been enough to sway the courts.
Now, to the latest on the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. This one has so many people talking. The disgraced music mogul facing federal racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking charges. Both the prosecution and defense teams are set to discuss the next phase of action following the indictment as investigators work to determine potential co-conspirators. But how exactly did we get here?
And then there's the question of what happens next. If Diddy really does have a list, will he use it? Can he use it? Can he use it? Or is it already too late? These are the questions no one seems to have answers to, and that uncertainty is what makes this story so compelling and so terrifying. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about one man's fall from grace. It's about power, secrets, and the lengths people will go to protect them. As for Diddy, he's still pacing his cell, still muttering under his breath, still refusing to eat the food he doesn't trust. Whether he's a man on the brink or a mastermind playing a long game, one thing is certain. The story is far from over. The sock incident, the list, the paranoia, they're all just pieces of a puzzle that's still taking shape. And until the full picture is revealed, all we can do is watch, wait, and wonder what will happen next.
Realm, this is very significant just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, I mean, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell right now, I think it really underscores the magnitude of what he's facing and the weight of the federal government.
So what do you think? Is Diddy's paranoia justified, or is it all part of an elaborate scheme to gain sympathy? And what about that mysterious list? Could it really hold the power to shake entire industries? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more celebrity gossip and updates on this unfolding drama. Until next time, stay curious.